You know, folks, as fans of certain shows and stuff that have come and gone, we always look onto the internet, or we always ourselves take time, even before the internet really took off, and allow us to share stories that we had created, continuations, if you will. You know, even before the internet, we would sit back, probably take a notebook, if you will, go on a typewriter, or if we had just a regular computer, you know, we would type up our own stories, our own fan fiction stories of what we felt could have been great continuations or additions to certain animated shows or even live action shows that we were fans of that got canceled too soon or were not continued the way they should have been. And for some of us, we like to, well, I don't know, keep those stories tucked away. We like to keep them somewhere that eventually someday we can pull them back out and we can read them without having to go on the computer. We can actually physically read them. Yes, nowadays you have tablets. You have iPhones, you have Androids, iPads, Kindles. They allow you to do all that. But when, let's say, you are just sleeping in bed or resting, and let's say your Android, your tablet, your Nextbook, your Kindle, your iPad is your iPhone. Let's say that's all charging. Let's say the battery was low and it's charging. Let's say the computer is off for the night at the same time. Now you could watch television if you wanted to, but if you didn't want to watch television because there was nothing on, or more importantly, you know, there was not a lot on that you wanted to see or you felt was entertaining. The old saying is curling up with a good book or a good story in any kind of book form is worth the time. It's worth it. Well, that's basically what fan fiction allowed us to do, even before the internet, like I mentioned earlier, became a big thing. And now, thanks to sites like fanfiction.net and a lot of websites, fan sites, if you will, like fan sites for Rescue Rangers, Sonic Sat AM, Talespin, you name it, we can actually now finally enjoy these stories, not just written by us, but enjoy stories written by other fans. And allows us also to share our creativity along with theirs. So, you probably wonder why I'm mentioning this. Well, it's really, really simple. It's really, really simple. The reason I'm mentioning this is for one specific reason. You see, when I lived on my own, I had a printer, still have the printer stored up somewhere, and along with the computer I have in my room. And even when I would go to Independence Inc. and use my free time on the computers there, I would print out all sorts of stories. At home, and while I was at Independence Inc. at times, I would print out as many stories that interested me, from Rescue Rangers, Talespin, Sonic the Hedgehog, Sat AM, you name it. But when I moved back here, I had to find something to contain them in, to keep them inside, to keep them safe. Throughout the past 7 years, I've pulled out some stories and have stored them in some of my drawers, if not under my futon, if not stored in my futon, you know, kind of, because it opens up, you got a little storage area there. So slowly but surely I've brought out some of them, like of Mice and Mayhem, some of the other Mobius or other M stories. But there were some stories that I never really brought out because they were stored away in totes like this that were also stored away in boxes. So for the first time in 7 years, I've been able to bring this out. Now, true, I would go in the garage every now and then, and I would look at them, kind of go through them and see what was there. But I never physically brought them out until recently. Now, why am I talking about this? Because some of these stories I think a lot of fans have forgotten about. Some of them are short, funny stories, kind of showing you that fans kind of were on the side of a certain pairing or shipping pairing, if you know what I mean. Some of the stories also were kind of more on the mature side at times, and some of them are on the family-friendly side, if not the, older audience side. So let's see what I have. Let's see what stories I stored up over the past 7 years, from Kansas to here. Most of these stories were actually printed out when I lived in Kansas. So there you go. Now, what do we have here? What stories do I have here? This here, first of all, is an original issue of Sonic the Hedgehog with the superhero parodies and all that, so yeah, superhero parodies. This is actually the original issue. Kind of shows you how much wear and tear it had. But let's see what I had here. Let's see what I stored up. Now, let's see what I stored up. First of all, on top, we have, and to tell you how big some of these stories were, I had to use these little clippers, if you will, to piece them all together. The first story I have on top here that I printed out when I lived in Kansas, one of the first fan fiction stories that I printed out was Runaway by Daniel J. Dreisen. That's right, Dan Dreisen's story, one of his stories that you can continually find on his website, I printed out. But it kind of tells you how big this is. And Dan does kind of say that it's a little bit too mature at times, so you might want to check that out if you ever want to do this. But this is Runaway. This was one of the first stories I printed out when I lived on my own in Kansas. Now, the next one I have here is Bonkers 1999, the final season, 7 Days in the Valley, Day 6, Redicop Land. And you can find this on Bonkers, currently on bonkersonline.com. But basically it's a more mature, more darker story of Bonkers than what you probably are used to. But that is one of the stories I have here. But like I say, that's Bonkers 1999, the final season, 7 Days in the Valley, Day 6, Redicop Land. It was basically a saga that they had done. Next up, we have by David Pistone, 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 we have Sonic the Hedgehog, Merry Christmas. That's right. This is Sonic the Hedgehog, Merry Christmas. Basically, it's a nice little Christmas story, short little Christmas story. And it has characters like Sandra Nightweaver in there, Pac-Bell, I think Bookshire. Basically, this is a little fan fiction, nice little fan fiction Christmas story. I think you can find this on Dan Dreisen's website. Then, here, we have Culinary Disaster by Megan Elizabeth Berner. By Megan Elizabeth Berner. And it's a story centered around Dale and Gadget, culinary disaster. I think you can find this at several Rescue Ranger fan sites. It's very nice, very cute little story. But that kind of shows you the vast variety that I have here. Up next is another Rescue Ranger story. It's called A Matter of Life and Death, written by Michael Gibby. Chippendale Rescue Ranger story entitled A Matter of Life and Death, written by Michael Gibby. So, really, really interesting. It actually is about Gadget, and she gets an interaction with her father in it, so you should check it out if you can. Find it on Rescue Ranger website. Now this was found, now this was printed out, and you can kind of tell, I don't know if you could really see it that well, the wear and tear of how old some of these are. As a matter of fact, this one, I think if you want to look at how old this is, I've had this story, I don't know if you can get in there very well. But I printed this story out on July 18th, 2001. So this story has been in my possession. This story by Dan Green has been in my possession for about, it's going to be going on 13 years this summer, this July. But this one is called The Comforts of Home. It's a Talespin Thanksgiving story. It's 56 pages, and I think it deals between the relationship between Baloo, Kit, and Rebecca. So, interesting read, if you will, but shows you how old some of these stories are that I printed out, or when I first started printing them out, how old they really are. Then, of course, here we have, stapled together, believe it or not, Other M, number 20, and I believe, if I can find it, it's 20, and I believe, I think that's it. This is issue 20, I believe, of Other M. This is actually issue 20. Yeah, this is actually issue 20 by SV Comics. Bumble King, if you will, right there, Other M. This is actually number 20. I should keep this out, put it with the Other M collection. Then here we have rated PG for PG-13 for content. We have Another Go at It. And it is a raccoon story, the raccoons, if you will, focusing on the relationship between Lisa Raccoon and Bert Raccoon. So it's called Another Go at It. It was a Vincent 404 production, basically written by Vincent 404. And I think you can find this at some websites. I think some of the raccoon websites or fan sites, if you will. But it focuses on the relationship between Lisa and Bert. Really interesting. And of course here I just got some color pages that I've just printed out and never really colored. They're Minnie and Daisy and stuff, so whatever. And then here, I never really stapled this all together, but these are the remaining stories. Someone actually put these online. But this is all of, this is actually all of the Legend of Chaos God stories. These are actually all the Legend of Chaos God stories that I can think of, that I found. I do have, I actually do have this one, but again, these are just some of the stories that I printed out of Legend of the Chaos God. It's it's a very big story, folks. Very big. I'll try to sort this out later. But it's basically, like I say, someone scanned it and put it online, and like I said, I'm going to have to piece it together later. Probably put that to the side for, whenever. Then, here, we have a piece of a story. I can't remember what it is. It's sort of like a... Oh, this one. Hold on. Let me check the time there. Okay, got plenty of time. I had to drink some soda there. Anyway, this little piece here is actually part of somebody that wrote their own mature script, kind of like a PG-13 if PG-13 script of Rescue Rangers the movie. And I'm not lying, so I'll try to find the rest of that. Here is another one. This is also by Michael Gibby. Speaking of Rescue Rangers, here's another one by Michael Gibby. It's entitled Love is a Many Splendored Thing. It deals with Gadget getting doused with a love potion along with all the other women in town. So, there you go. And, here we go. This is what I was looking for. This is, I guess, one of the final parts, or it's a loose part or something. I'm not really sure. I mean, this thing was so big. But this is actually Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, the movie, Some Mouths to Watch Over Me, part 1 of 3. It's a big one. And it's written by Matt Pelosi. Special thanks to Roxy Stone for helping him in the formatting of it. So, yeah, I think you can find this on several Rescue Ranger fan sites. It's Rescue Rangers, the movie, Some Mouths to Watch Over Me. And I'll tell you this, I have read a lot of these stories when I lived on my own. Really, really interesting. Really, really interesting. Now this is actually just the NWA Central States, I'm trying to think. It's Central States wrestling card that they had that they were going to have on Friday, October 13th, 2006, and I actually did go to that. I did go to that event. So this was just a list of the card that was of what they were going to have there. Now this here was a 25th birthday pic that somebody made for me. I asked them to kind of get the characters, the female characters like that. That's kind of cool. Now this here is one of Gavin Allahus. This is mature Sonic stories. This is Sally's Trouble. And I think it deals with Sally having a mature confrontation or encounter with her anti-Mobius double. Okay, this is just an email I asked about a question. You should get it. This is just an email I asked a question about. I'll just get rid of this. But yeah, it kind of shows you how old some of these, how old or how long it's been since I printed these out. It shows you how long it's been since I printed these out, because Sally's Trouble, you go to the VCL or you go to tails-kickass.net and try to look up the story. It's not there, along with several others. Here we have Fifi La Cote. This is by Michael M. This is a Tiny Toons story, kind of like in the teen-rated stuff, and it deals with, and it focuses on Hampton, Montana Max, Fifi. I think you can find this at a fan fiction site, if not at a Tiny Toons fan site, which I think I found it. This here is a review I did. I actually did type up reviews, and I still do, as you could tell. But this is one that I physically did type up. This is a review for Sonic issue 179. Yes, this is one I actually typed up. I didn't have the benefit of Dragon Natural Speaker at that time. Then here, I printed out at the time. I don't know if I printed it out here. I don't think I did. I think I printed it out when I lived in Kansas. But here, I printed out several stories that fans posted online. This is of some of the golden books that were released on Sonic the Hedgehog. This one is Sonic the Hedgehog Up Against the Wall, right there. And in this one, I apologize for the fade of color, is Sonic the Hedgehog 2 golden book entitled Secret Admirer. So, again, I apologize for some of the fade of ink, if you will, but really interesting. And oh, by the way, the Robotnik they use in there is from Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Then, of course, we have another review that I did. It was on 180. Again, like I said, this is before I had the benefits of Dragon Natural Speaker, right there. It's a 2-pager, so I can type, if you will. It's just, I like to mostly do it vocally. Go figure. This is just a little thing I did called My Sonic the Hedgehog Comic Books Memories and Thoughts. This is just stuff I did back in 2007, a few months before I moved back out here. This one is My Sonic Saturday Night Memories. It was kind of like a little interview I did for myself. Basically, it was in text form. There you go. And then here we get down to the nitty-gritty. We're getting down there anyway. Here we have the Foxglove feature. This is printed out. This was printed out on January 26, 2001. Which means we are basically this Sunday. This Sunday, it would have been 13 years since I printed this out. 13 years. And basically, let's see what's on there. We have backup is here. Was the main drawing by Herms, and it's Sailor Mercury. It's Sailor Mercury, and wait, don't tell me. And it says Herms offers grand welcome to artist Sailor Mercury with a picture featuring Foxy and Who Is That Max Cat. So it kind of tells you how big Foxglove was. And it had stuff like little features, like what's new. It would tell you like what is new about like artists like Herms, who was working on a Rescue Ranger RPG titled R&R, The Future Will Never Be the Same. A triple threat. I was actually featured in here a few times because I would contribute stories. Like mine was, let's see. Mine was, I can't remember the story. They don't mention it here. And oh, by the way, this was at a time when a character named Westcott Squirrel was Tammy's boyfriend. Yeah, and this was also another thing. The romantics, they had a romantic section, and basically the romantics section was you could select a song, and you could basically say, mention, you could basically put down here, you can basically put down a song as a song suggestion, and you could actually suggest what characters you want to be in the parts of the song. Like this one, it's this song is In Another's Eyes, which was Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood, and it was suggested by, of course, me, and it's according to Foxglove Romantics, sung by Foxglove and Dale. I know, kind of crazy there. Hold on, let me check my time here. I may have to do this in a two-part.